Why do you wanna end? Was it real or just pretend? Tell me, why do you wanna end? Was he really just a friend? No sign. Why do you wanna end?
Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, and for today's video, I am going to share to you my concept about grammaring, grammaticalizing, error correction versus feedback, spoken versus written grammar, grammatical assessment, and lastly, pedagogical issues. So let's get into the video. First is grammaring. So what is grammaring? So let's define grammaring to its simplest definition, which is the process of learning grammar. It is the ability to use grammar structures accurately. Now, why we do grammaring? So, the purpose behind teaching grammar according to Freeman is no longer the transmission of knowledge, but rather it is performed to enable students to use grammatical structures accurately, meaningfully, and appropriately. So basically, grammar teaching is not about so much on imparting knowledge as it is a skill development or betterment. So again, grammaring is the process of learning grammar to enable us to have the ability to use grammar structures accurately. Accurately. So when we say accurately, this refers to the correct usage of sentence structures, whether in written or in spoken. Next is when we say meaningfully, this means that teaching grammar should guide students to better understand as to how the grammar functions. All in all, grammar is very essential towards mastering the other skills such as listening, speaking, writing, because as what they have said, how can we write properly if we can't use grammatical entities correctly, right? So, let's proceed to grammaticalizing. Grammaticalizing is a blended type of change enclosing small changes on the levels of phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, or in scores, whether simultaneously or in succession. Grammaticalizing is said to be as taking in movement from more to less. Why more to less? More to less, since grammaticalizing is the process of clustering words in order to create new and to fill with more grammatical functions. Grammaticalizing is simply the way of obtaining words from existing nouns, where, for instance, the lexical cluster let us in let us sleep is reduced to let's, as in let's take a nap. You get it? So now let's proceed to error correction versus feedback. Error correction is the process of identifying errors in transmitted information and reconstructing the original error-free data. It guarantees that corrected and error-free messages are obtained at the receiver side. While feedback, on the other hand, has a significant role in the awareness of the errors and performance of the learners. Grammatical error correction involves correcting text errors such as spelling, punctuation, grammatical, and word choice errors. However, we should avoid giving feedback immediately so that the learner has the time to think of the error he or she made. So, feedback should be given once the learner is done performing. Feedback can be in a form of correction. It is designed to let everyone see what are the needs to improve or change. Through giving feedback, it awares the speaker or the composer of the message about the slips he or she has done. By doing so, the speaker will be given a chance to assess his mistakes or errors once it is pointed out to them. Therefore, feedback and correction are related to each other. When responding to errors, teachers should be seen as giving feedback, helping students to reshape their knowledge. Teacher is giving feedback at the same time correcting the student's mistake. So now let's proceed to spoken versus written grammar. So it is very understood that written grammar is the grammar used in writing, and spoken grammar is the grammar used in speaking. Now, what makes the spoken and written grammar fundamentally default to a debate between formal and informal grammar is that written text cannot usually be changed once it is printed out or written out, while spoken grammar is usually transient unless recorded, and the speakers can correct and change the utterance as they go along. Spoken grammar often involves constructions such as "I'll," "don't," or "can't," which are strictly speaking not appropriate in written grammar, as well as the inclusion of slang words or colloquialisms. Breaking of strict written grammar rules, the same as in the beginning of sentences with prepositions, may happen in the spoken grammar. On the contrary, there is grammatical syntax that exists almost exclusively in written grammar that is not used in spoken grammar, such as the existence of perfect past tense. Spoken grammar is also more dynamic and immediate, therefore often including many grammatical errors that are unacceptable in written grammar. For example, a written note might say, "Would you like to go out to eat?" The person who would write that note may alternatively say in person, "You want to go out for lunch?" So written grammar is a planned grammar since you have enough time to plan on how you're going to organize the grammatical flow of your text. While in spoken grammar, the grammatical errors are very visible. However, this is more effective and more conveying compared to the written grammar. It is just that written grammar is more formal than spoken grammar. So now we're down to grammatical assessment. English grammar is generally known as difficult to learn for both native and second language speakers. There are numerous complexities, rules, and exceptions that leads teachers to use various methods in teaching grammar. In terms of assessment, grammar is at the center to language description and test-taker performance. Nowadays, the knowledge of grammar is evaluated by how it is used in communication, either in speaking or writing in second language. So why do we need to assess grammar? Of course, assessing grammar is very important as it helps the person to understand how grammar works in context. It serves as the component towards shaping the good communication skill of an individual. So how do we assess grammar? So the common way to see if the student has mastery of the rules of English usage and conventions is to review those skills through a piece of writing. So why piece of writing? It's because in writing, we can easily identify the slips or the errors. Language is assessed within writing assessment as part of a scoring rubric, or it is assessed with test items that specifically address language skills. The purpose of the document is to help teachers and assessment developers recognize the variety of ways that these skills can be assessed in both classroom and large-scale assessment. Okay, so we are now on the last topic, which is the pedagogical issues. So, when we talk about pedagogy, these are the things that are related to teaching. Pedagogical issues, on the other hand, are the problems that are usually present in the teaching learning process. Pedagogical issues in teaching grammar refers to the challenges that are encountered when teaching grammar, either positive or negative. So, for this topic, we will only focus on the two main issues, which is the teaching large multi-level process and catering with different learning styles. So, first is teaching large multi-level classes. This may be beneficial because there were a lot of interactions and a lot of ideas to offer that makes the learning process more significant and interesting. However, when we talk about its challenges, it is inevitable that we often feel out of control when dealing with numerous students. A chaotic and unorganized environment may happen when students talk in chorus. Second is catering to different learning styles. So what is learning style? So learning style refers to the student's preferred way of learning. Concrete learners like to encounter grammar in context. This means that these type of learners only respond well to tasks in which the grammar point is presented and explained in visual. Another is the analytical learners. This type of learners prefer to identify grammar rules and principles through the inductive study of language. So, as an educator, you have to be flexible enough in coping up with these problems. In terms of giving assessment to students with different learning style, you have to be creative in employing strategies that suits their learning comfortability. So that would be all. Have a great day, everyone.